Good evening and welcome to the Rich and Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Lester, here along with my co-host.
Jabril Wilson, real Jabril. How you doing?
Real Jabril.
And Thomas. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well.
Doing well.
We're here to talk about the power of no. Setting appropriate boundaries in relationships. Or, as our title suggests, the power of no, building effective boundaries of trust and respect. So I will ask Dr. Jabril our starting question here.
Okay.
From a husband's perspective, how do boundaries contribute to a healthy marriage?
From a husband's perspective, how do boundaries contribute to a healthy marriage? I think there's really the boundaries start with communication. So, I mean, I think you should come with those boundaries together, figuring out what each person describes as a boundary and create a safe space for the couple, the marriage. And no matter what, you stay with that. You stay committed to that because those boundaries keep everything together. And there will be distractions and temptations, but if you have those boundaries set and they're agreed, so it's both of you having an agreement, and that'll help the marriage stay closer together. It's easier said than done, but if you don't have a foundation of boundaries or that communication, and even you could go over it monthly, quarterly to see how that's working, but you don't even need to wait monthly or quarterly. If the boundaries are not being met, you need to address it immediately.
So saying no isn't always easy, especially when we fear disappointment for others, feeling guilty, or even losing relationships. But here's the truth. Your peace, your time, and your energy are worth protecting. And this is why boundaries are so important, because there aren't walls that really keep people out. They're doors that guide people who you want to allow into your life. And without them, we risk burnout, resentment, and even broken trust. So that's what we're doing today, is breaking it all down, how to set a boundary, why they matter, and how saying no can actually strengthen trust and respect in your relationships. Just as Dr. Jabril said, with communication being one that is important. So Thomas, I'll ask you the next question. Are there any personal examples where saying no helps strengthen trust in your marriage?
Yeah, I mean, saying no, I mean, I ain't gonna go into all the no's, but saying no, being comfortable with saying no is always powerful in a marriage, because I go back to what Jabril said, and I'm just gonna expound on it. You have a house, and a house have walls. Can you go through the walls? Only if it has a door. If it doesn't have a door, there's no permission. If it don't have, your boundary walls of the house don't have doors except for certain places, because those are the places that you exit and enter, right? Many of us like to walk into relationships with no walls. And there has to be walls, because there are things that you don't want to say or you don't want to do. Those boundaries help keep everybody safe. And allow them to do, and allow you to be comfortable in that space. In marriage, the same way. Personal space and time, which should be developed in the relationship. Understanding what no, I don't want to talk right now is a good one. And then we as husbands, we got to talk about this. Oh, this is something we got to talk about. And that person, I really don't want to talk right now because I'm in a different place. And we try to push the issue because for us, it's something we need to talk about now. No to in the bedroom is the same thing. We just have to understand when yes and no means that, because it's not about what you want, it's about what you all want. It should be a person. Yes, your body's not yours, her body's not hers. but it's yours together. And if one is out of sync, then it's just a hot mess for the rest of the time. So no's in finance, you have to talk about those no's, because my wife and I, we don't agree on our no's in finance. We don't. And so we put up a buffer. We have ours and we have hers and mine's inside of that, so that the ours is a yes or no. But when mine's don't make the end of the month, and I have to go back into the other pot, now that no becomes what? That no becomes, well, I need to borrow money from the pot. No, you can't borrow money from the pot. Why can't I borrow money from the pot? That becomes a whole different conversation. But the no's have to be respected, because if you don't respect the no's, how do you respect the yes to be? It's an even thing. If you can't respect the no's, you can't respect the yes.
Interesting perspective. Like it. So, and building on that, many men are taught to always say yes in leadership roles, particularly at work and providing for their families. How can men learn to set healthy boundaries without feeling like they're failing their loved ones?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah.
How can men learn to set healthy boundaries without feeling like they're failing their loved ones? Because they're always taught to say yes, or you're always taught to say yes in leadership roles, especially at work. But when it comes to providing, I know Thomas touched just a little bit on the ours, yours, and mine finance accounts, but now overall saying no inside the family without feeling like you're failing them. Like kids want to do this, or wife wants to do that, and your no is in solidarity for that doesn't align with our goal. So how can you guys, what words of advice do you have to help men out there celebrate saying no while setting healthy boundaries with their family for success?
There's a way to say no and you don't. Because you can give alternatives. It's like, Dad, I need to go to the park today, and you already have everything lined up. I can't do it today, but we can do it this time. But then you have to make sure that you're honoring that. And you can't let other things get in the way of that. You can look at things, and then you can give, ways of saying. So sometimes it's a hard no. No, we can't do that. But you got to give a reason or justification why. Because just a flat no, nobody deserves a flat no. Everybody deserves a why, especially in relationship. And if there is no why, you doing a no just because, then you need to go back and check yourself from a sense of, why am I saying no to this, and have that justification, because the no doesn't go away. The no builds, and it builds in relationships. Dang, this joker always saying no to me. Why? Every time I'm turning around, this joker saying no. So why should I ask? Because he's going to say no anyway. And you start getting those things going on. But the yes the same way. But you want to make sure that you are able, if needed, to provide a justification of why the no. Because a relationship is what? It's two. Nisha says 4. Oh, she's looking at my numbers. So it's 2. But actually it's 3. But when you put God in it. But and it's less 2. So the 2 have to, and when you're putting the kids in there, you saying no to kids is totally different, because now it's 3. Because you saying no to your kids, and a lot of times you're not speaking just for yourself, you're speaking for you and your wife. Or your spouse. And so with that, now you're binding the hands of your wife, because if they go to the wife and the wife knows you already said no, and it's like, well, I really don't need to go against my husband about this. But I'm going to say, I don't understand why he's saying no. I don't know why that joker's saying no, so I'm going to say yes. Now you got a whole different dynamics going on in your family. So no's have a tendency of being both positive and negative. Even though they're needed, they need to be respected, but we have to give a reason why they need to be respected. That make sense?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Dad Jabril, what questions do you have?
All right. Well, I mean, in terms of the boundaries, in yours, many women, especially in dating, Erica, I mean, friendships struggle with saying no out of fear of being seen a difficult or unkind. So how did you personally learn to embrace the power of no? Which I know you seem like you've mastered it, and how it has changed your relationships.
Well, for me personally, what helped me say no, what was the biggest change saying no is when all of my yeses were building the other person, but I wasn't getting that equal or similar or needed support. That helped me reassess it, not from the perspective of they were, I was only ever doing something to prop up or be disingenuous in my support, because I was absolutely riding for the overall team. However, it just made it so obvious that I was getting a lot of no's, and I had to, first evaluate, okay, let me make sure I'm coming from the right place, my heart is in the right place. And so my no's now are things that I don't have to say no to in a relationship or to a person. What do I mean by that? Here's one. Recently, when I started repositioning for the idea of dating again, whether that be meeting somebody online or meeting somebody in person, I decided that I'd take more of a male approach in this regard. And some people might come for me on this, but I really don't care. So here's what I mean by that. If I felt that, especially these online characters, if I felt like I wouldn't look good on their arm, or I wouldn't be proud to walk in the room with them, or they would look great on my arm, I was just nixing them. At first, though, I was reading the profiles, doing all the research. And then I said, you know what? Men are visual and they're not going to read that deep on my profile. So let me just take a page out of their playbook and let me go no. Because if there's anything just physically where I have the option to not get to know them, I'm just Xing that out. And then I don't have to question it later. Like, I hope I like him well enough that even though he's a 6 or a 7, that's not gonna bother me, or even a 5, right? And so before he would get to know me, he would already been like, I don't like the way you look, X off. So there wouldn't be a situation in that regard that they ever heard me say no to them because I made the no's silently. Another way would be, I'm going in and I'm going to ask about this spiritual relationship. And I found a way to do it where it's not even that obvious or that deep. In all of the profiles that I saw, when I was looking at the pictures, I was looking for drinks in the hand, anything that countered anything in their profile. If it looked, I only drink on special occasions, but you post up 7 photos and you got a drink in your hand, you had 7 different occasions. I'm thinking your drinking is a little bit more expedient than that, right? And also too, like, I've always been a person that when I meet a man for the first time, whether it's romantic or not, how he looks at me and receives me from the top tells me exactly where he is. And I could say no to that too. Like, I will always remember that that's how I was received. And it's going to do a lot more for him to overcome that. And I've been 100% accurate in that regard. So my no's don't have to be disrespectful. They don't have to be overt or anything like that. It's just more like, if you're not a peaceful person, I can say no to that too, because you come with a bunch of drama. It's just that they will never know that I said no. So then when my yeses are, I said yes to you some in the relationship. And now when you ask a question and put in a situation, it'll be easier for those no's to be felt, because then I'm getting the opportunity to also state why I'm saying no. Like, that doesn't align, not gonna happen. I think in today's society, the biggest no that single females have is not getting physical, no matter how you're feeling. Like, you want that relationship to last, you want to get to know each other, you want relationships to build. You're gonna have to say no to some things, like, yeah, I know you've been celibate or abstinent for a year, and oh, this man got you running in circles in your mind, but still no, because you don't know him and you don't know where this relationship's going. So if at least you can't make it the distance on the marriage side, you better be telling no to your needs, wants, and desires until at least you get a revelation of why he's there. So no's can be pretty powerful.
And that's powerful that you put all that in there. That was a lot. So the silent no's are things that you say to yourself, but your partner don't know. And that's the ones that determine your relationship with that person are yours, and they are, and that's your personal opinion and where you want to go and how you determine where you are. Now, once inside the relationship, some of those no's have to become verbal no's. And setting those relationship and boundaries, that's where we're talking about the boundaries. And those boundaries, where you can go and where you're not going and where you're pressured to go, are things that, and we as men, we are told, and I think, I'm gonna say we as people are told a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Yeah, she said no, that don't really mean no, that means yes. Look at her body language and let that tell you what she really wants to do. But we have to be able to honor that, listening to the person and not to but then at the same time, both sides have to be, if they want to say yes, then their body saying yes, I want this, but then their mouth saying no, I don't want this. It's two different things, and you got to say, you know what? I really want to be closer to you, but I want to move this to I want to get a better relationship before I say yes to this. So I don't want this. So it's not a no. It is, wait a minute. I don't want this right now. And we have to be honest with that, even because what you don't want to do is, I don't like this and I don't want that. But the real thing is, I don't like this right now because I am dating you. But when I get married, I really would love this. But I'm saving this for my marriage. So this is not something I want to do while I'm dating. And because when you get married, then the person ain't doing that with you or want to do that with you. And you're like, but I love to do this. You said, no, but you told me you didn't want to be doing this. Now you already got mixed signals of what you gonna do and what you want to do and what you will do and what you won't. Because y'all done been dating for a year. He ain't did this, but he loved to do it, but you done told him that you don't want to do it. So he's saying, I don't want to do this because you done said, I'll never do this. I don't like this. This sucks. But when you're really saying, I don't want to do this right now because I'm not married to you. I want to give myself to you when I get married. I'm not giving you everything because I don't have nothing left for the marriage. And that is a different type of no. That is a different way of explaining it. That's why I said no has to have an explanation. No for now don't mean no forever in some cases, where in other cases, no for now mean no for, no, you'll never hit me. You touch me, I'll kick your butt. You know, or you touch me, I'm walking out of this relationship. Because, you know, even with my wife, I told her I never hit a lady, never touch a lady, but I knock the devil out of a woman. I done told her, and she looked at me like I'm sorry, like I'm crazy. And she says, what's the difference? I said, I always present myself in a way that I will never put myself in a position where you will need to hit me. I will never be in a position where you need to hit me, because I will always treat you like a lady and treat you like a queen. Even in dating, I will strive to treat you like a queen. If I ever get to a point that I think that we are getting to a point where you might be able to hit me, I'm gonna walk away, because I'm not gonna never put you in that space. That makes sense? Because at that time, if you're raising your hand to hit me, that means that now you're disrespecting me. And and I ain't gonna go into all the scripture, but a woman has a man and a woman inside of her. When she raised her hand to me, she done took the man out, she done took the wool off and said, I'm a man. I'm relinquishing my right. Cause I'm I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna let you just tell jack me up and then I'm gonna sit there and be like, huh? No, it ain't working. But so our no's, we're gonna have solid no's that are never gonna happen. You're never gonna do this. This is a solid not. But the other no's that we have to make sure we present the opportunities of when those no's can be yes. That makes sense? That's the explanation. And some people, you don't have to go there. No, I'm not doing that with you. And because it ain't going no further. Or you can say, you know what? In this step in our relationship, I'm not doing this because I'm saving this for deeper relationship. I'm saving this for my marriage. You ain't got to say I'm saving this until I get a wedding ring. I'm saving this until I get engaged. I'm saving this until I'm getting married. What is the end point of your no? When do your no become a yes? And that's the question we have to ask. Is there a no? Is there a point when my no becomes a yes? If there are, then we have to acknowledge that in the beginning of the relationship, not as we dive into the relationship.
All right.
Front. And I think sometimes we need to build boundaries even around the no, even in the boundaries. For example, you can be highly sexually attracted to someone, and you know that your willpower will diminish because they're so fine or they're so whatever, and you're really feeling them and you've been dating for a year and you really want to wait. Well, that you can't Netflix and chill. You can't meet up at apartments and be together at night and be in movies and all the spaces and the places and the things and the situations already. If you really know yourself, you can't do those things. So you're like, okay, well, we're going to meet at daytime. I'm going to drive my car. He's going to drive his car. No, you're not coming over after a certain time or any time. Like, that you're really feeling that person. It doesn't matter what time it is outside, like you say, it's nothing but air and opportunity. You like, yep, that's the one time that person can't come over. Like, not gonna spend no time with you today. I want, in your mind, like, I want him too much. Can't do it today. So again, those are things that you can condition yourself to have, not this knockout, drag out, long out discussion. Nobody need to be on the phone for 30 minutes. You already know what it is. Just say, hey, I'm not available today. And you just keep it moving. They never even heard your no. And you are so proud of yourself because you're like, thank God, because I couldn't do it today. Not going to happen. But it's all about, like we're saying, get back to it, healthy boundaries. Knowing yourself is going to be key in any relationship so that your yes can be yes and your no can be no. And that's just what it is. And then when people know that's who you are and you're not going to waffle, you're not going to play around, they know you mean no and you mean yes. And that's the end of it. End of discussion. And it's the things that you can discuss that aren't, like you said, it's no right now and these are flexible. That's where the discussion part comes into play. But if you don't like the swing from the chandeliers in the bedroom, don't sit here and play yourself and say, oh yeah, I like that. I like that too. I like, like that's going to be found out. That's going to be nixed. Somebody's going to be disappointed and it's not even worth it. You just might as well just say, no, not happening. Don't want to do it with you. Not going to do it with you. That's it. Don't set people up for disappointment. That's not it. And if you got a problem, like, I don't get this. So we just got to go this real quick, just covering this. Never ever have I seen so many people in life have sexual addictions. It is really not that deep. People like sex. They know they know that they can't be faithful to one person. Just be real about it. Be honest. That's a boundary. This is a trust and a no. Like, no, like when people start asking you crazy questions, how do you figure this out? when people start asking questions like, have you been this, that, and the third, or would you be interested in, you're not with that, you're monogamous all the way through and through. It's just you and him and you, and that's it. You have to shut that down. You have to say that from the top. You can't even go into a relationship thinking that it's a possibility. It's getting it out front. That's a lot of the things like Dr. Brill said about communication. A lot of stuff is people thinking that if they have a discussion and you're so into them and y'all married, oh, we're married now, the married bed is undefiled. Like, it still don't include others. I don't get what people are talking about, but it's all about communication. Healthy boundaries mean actual healthy boundaries, not I'm going to blur the lines because I'm with this person and I'm gonna try some stuff this time, I try some stuff that time. And I'm not talking about just bedroom interests. I'm just talking about in life in general. We know ourselves. We know where there's absolutely no way you're going to be into stuff. You're not going to do stuff. You're not going to be stuff. You're not going to go places. And just be like, look, I'm not doing any skydiving. I don't like near-death experiences. I will support you and be on the ground and clap for you while you're in the air and all that, but I am not doing that. Like, you already know. I think people just spend so much time, and so many times of lying to themselves and lying to other people that healthy boundaries, that's kind of out the window, and people are just like, well, I might. Look, girl, he's so fine. I just might do that. Or she is so wonderful. I just might be into that. Oh, like, like you are, we'll use Thomas for a second as an example. This is not you, but I'm just saying, like, if you're a boy from the country and all you like is Southern food, you don't have no business going around trying to play foodie around these different restaurants. Let's go to French, eat some frog gras, or we're gonna go eat, frog legs. You're not into that. Stop playing games. Just be real about it. Be open. Be saying, this is a boundary. I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't want to try it. I have friends who, not because it wouldn't be great, it's just that they don't like the way the food looks and they won't even try it, won't smell it, won't touch it, won't eat it, won't do anything. But
See,
just like in that, you just have to be real about it. It's just being real and being upfront.
but see, that time changes everything. And sometimes our no's do change with time. In relationships, I hope a relationship's not going 30 years. But, from a sense of boyfriend and girlfriend, at 30 years, you're married, hopefully. But I have known 10 years relationships that are dating. I don't understand that. But, so things do change and times change, but you have to let them know why they're changing. I've changed. There are things that I wouldn't do. You right. Food. Some things I just don't do. Nah. But I found I didn't like chitlins. Couldn't stand no chitlins. Man, my father-in-law used to put some chitlins on. I was sitting in the house, I ain't smelled no chitlins. I smelled something a little bit strange, but I ain't smelled no chitlin. She put some stuff on her plate. I'm like, man, that looked like chitlin, but I don't think that's chitlin. That must be some northern stuff. But it was chitlins. Why? Because he fixed them a different way. He made things different. I never touched shrimp. Never touched shrimp since a kid. But, now I eat a little bit of shrimp every now and then with my wife. My wife is a seafood. She see all the seafood out the ocean and she likes to eat it. Me, I'm a seafood guy. I see all the food I can eat it. I eat it. As long as it don't come out of the ocean. You know what I'm saying? But so our no's do change sometime. But it goes back to that. There's a reason for the change. We have to understand the change, be able to do that. But we can't do so that's an easy thing because that no totally affects who? It affects me. It affects her from a sense of where she's, what she can cook, where we can go to eat, stuff like that. But it doesn't affect her mentally or physically. That makes sense? But then there's times when those no's affect us physically, mentally, socially, sexually, and it has to do with our spouse or with our boyfriend or girlfriend, then we need to know that. We need to know what those no's are and what the boundaries of those no's. You know what I'm saying? And that's the power. Jabril?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Thomas. I had a quick question for Erica before I leave. I just wanted to know from her, her experience, what are some of the biggest consequences that women face when they fail to set firm boundaries? And how do you recommend they start setting them without feeling guilty?
Biggest consequences is heartbreak and regret. And
Consequences.
yep, heartbreak and regret and disappointment and shame, all those things. And the reality is because you knew you felt a certain way. Most of the time, especially in relationships, you knew you felt a certain way and you knew you wanted to wait, or you knew you wanted something more for the relationship, and things got hot, heavy, and fast and whatever. And it ended dismally. And it wasn't your plan, it wasn't your intention. But that would just be because you went faster than what you had planned or what you had anticipated or what you had desired, or you did things that you knew were a no for you. You really didn't want to do them. You did them anyway, and you didn't end up with the result that you felt like you should have. Okay, hey, you spent a year with a relationship and you thought it was going to go to distance, and it goes nowhere. Next one he dates for 6 months, gets married. Now you're regretting things. But what you did know is so many things that I've come to find out in most cases, men know from the beginning where they want to take that relationship. And it's different from whether he thought you were marriage material or not. It was just more or less, I already know how far I want to go with this one, how much time I want to spend with this one. They have a general idea. What's going to make the difference is when they get to experience you, and it's not as easy or as whatever they thought it was, and you become something different than what they were used to. But generally speaking, they know that they just only want to date, play around, have fun, whatever they want to do. And it was never that serious for them. But we women, we treat every relationship as serious. When dating is about collecting data, getting to know people and getting to know yourself, and then saying, hey, realistically, does this person have what I'm looking for, or can I see myself with this person in the future? Me personally, I've mentioned this a couple of times and I still stand by this today, is I won't date you if I don't feel like I could marry you. I've already collected enough information that tells me that would be a pretty good decision, and the rest is up to your performance and what you show me and how you treat me. But generally speaking, I pretty much know that going into the relationship, where I won't even waste my time. And I definitely have never introduced a man to my dad that I did not want to marry. So everyone that I date or every man that I've ever known has never met my parents. So that's my boundary too. Like, would they pass the Patterson test? Absolutely not. But, at the end of the day, you knew what you liked when you saw him. That's why looks are not my number one go-to when it comes to potential relationships. So don't have to get faded. But that regret is real. The heartbreak and disappointment is real. And 20 years later, 5, 10, I don't know where these people be in these relationships for so long. But I think worst case scenario, if you're in something greater than 5, you need to check yourself. It's probably not going to happen. And if you've been waiting for 3 years for it to happen, it's time to have that real honest conversation. And if you have to ask a man, you don't want to marry me or not, I think you got real problems anyway. So avoid the disappointment, avoid the guilt, avoid the shame, the disrespect. And I'll tell you straight up, as a woman, I don't know how other women feel. I can just speak for myself, and we just say it like this. I found that the biggest heartbreak of it all is always because if there was intimacy there, it's way more difficult for you to get over that relationship because you shared each other, everything with each other. But the men that I never had any physical contact with, that's a one day move on in my mind and on my way decision making, and I am not thinking about him. I promise you. Blank in the period. Excellent question, though. We appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. You guys, it's been great. I will talk to everybody soon, but remember to create those boundaries first for yourself before you expect other people to do it. So you have your own boundaries, because once you set them for yourself, it teaches other people to have boundaries, and you can work together. And you can agree to disagree as long as you're respectful. And you can, like you said, as Thomas said, that no or no way can change later. It's all about communication and both growing together. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Dr. Jabril. Have a great evening.
Bye. See you.
What do you have to say about that, Sister Arrington?
Well, actually, I kind of liked what Jabril, I mean, he's off now, so I can't necessarily tell him. But it is, and I was listening to what Erica was saying. Basically, the boundaries get established with us first. And then we have to stay, no matter what, regardless of the circumstances, we have to stick to our boundaries. And then so that when we say no, that's what we mean. But then at the same time, and I think I heard you saying something a little bit earlier, is that when we say no to somebody else, then that no needs to be respected. And a lot of times our problems come when that no is not respected by the other person, because now you're in a challenge that you didn't want. So I think that's where the problem comes, is that sometimes our boundaries that we set for ourselves are not necessarily respected by the other person. And that's where we have dating problems. But I liked what you said about dating, Erica, because I actually told my kids that when they were they were teenagers. My son was a competitional cheerleader, and so he was around a lot of females, and he was talking with some of his friends, and one of them was talking about how she wanted to date, and I just kind of asked her, I said, why? I said, what is the purpose of dating? I said, when you really look at it, what is the purpose of dating? The purpose of dating is actually to find a mate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, is to find a mate. So if you're going to, so at 14, 15 years old, you're wanting to find a mate, why not just go ahead and be friends with this guy? Just be friends, because we know, even though we say, yeah, the purpose is dating, they're saying, well, I want to be friends, but we all know this day and age, when you date somebody, what is actually going on, and there's probably a physical, a sexual, or an intimate element to that relationship. We know that. And we know as we get older, like you just said, that complicates relationships, especially on the female's end. That complicates relationships. So the more we can stay away from that particular aspect of it, the better. And but it's the same thing as we get older. If we go into a relationship, it's like, well, why am I looking at the guy in the first place? Why am I dating that guy? Like you said, women, yes, we are looking for marriages. Men, on the other hand, a lot of men, you're going back to the thing of what are men looking for? Men are looking for sex. Let's be real. They're looking for sex. They're not looking for love. They're just looking for sex. Most men are. Notice I said most.
I know.
Okay. So most men are. When guys start feeling themselves, when they're younger, when they're in their teen years, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for a long-term relationship. And they're looking for the girls that will give in. I mean, that's reality.
Okay.
That's reality.
So yeah. Okay.
What?
I mean, I can fight against that, but at the same point, I think it's a two-way street.
I didn't say it wasn't.
So I think today's time, it seems, and I say it seems, that that's because before it seems like women were not looking for that. They are not looking for sex and all of that. But today, I hear more women talking about sex than I hear men talking about sex. From a sense of going get this, then get that. And I think the times have changed from a sense of who's looking for what. And the challenge is because I've talked to men and they're like, dude, you know, when a person's willing to go to bed on the first or second date, I'm done. You know, I already know where I'm at with this relationship. Yeah, I go and do it, but I already have canceled Christmas because I'm not looking for that person that's just going to tell me yes, just to keep me around. I'm looking for that person that's going to tell me no, that's going to sit me. I'm looking for somebody to give me boundaries. I'm looking for somebody that's going to, you know, I'm looking for that person to complete me. That's not going to allow I want that person that makes me whole. And it's not all about sex, because it's about, I can get sex from anybody, but what is the person that's going to make me wake up in the morning and I'm still excited about you, that I'm still wanting to be around you, that I can't, you know, that you just make me feel whole. Because because I was talking to a young man the other day and he was like, you know, Mr. Arrington, he said, I don't like the dating game because the next thing I know, I end up at my house or their house and they are wanting to have sex, or the conversations go to sex, and I'm just trying to figure it out. You know, what's so special about this? And I'm like, dude, you're looking in the wrong places. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, when is the last time you picked up a person and they talked about, you know, having sex and all that? He was like, well, you know, I go out with my friends at bars and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, so you picking them up from bars? He said, yeah, but you know, and here we go. He had a girlfriend for a long time in a church. Then the girlfriend broke his heart because he hadn't done, and I don't know how we get into these conversations, but you know, he had a long-term relationship. She said she didn't want sex, and then she ended up cheating on him with a person having sex. And you know, and he's sitting there like, you know, so, and we didn't go into the conversation because I was like, this is the wrong place to be having this kind of conversation. But, you know, the challenge that we have as men is finding that person that can say, no, we're okay with that. I'm just happy with being you for you. I'm happy with being with you for you. If you've been honest with yourself, and just like you're saying, I agree with a lot of the things that you said when you said you block everything from you know, when you don't want to be with that person because you know that this is a day of give in, then the question is, are you truly honest with yourself? And are you truly honest with where you want this relationship to go? And he has to be the same way. And when he's feeling old, and you got to say, look, I don't want to do this until we get to this point in our relationship, and I need you to honor that, because if you can't honor that, then there's nothing else that I believe that we can do. Because it's one thing for you sitting there and you kissing all over him, and you're feeling yourself getting hot and bothered, and all the stuff he's getting, all the fumes and pheromones and hormones and pheromones and all the moans are starting, and you moaning and he moaning and y'all groaning, and then y'all find up y'all in a place where you don't want to be. Are you going to a place you don't want to be? Then you stopping, and then you running away. You're trying to go back. You can't get back. You can't get back because now you're stopping something of natural progress. It goes to, you know, relationships have been 2 and 3 years. You probably learned everything about that person. You've probably intertwined so many different layers of your life that it's hard to break out. You probably intertwine sex, because how you gonna be with somebody for 3.5 years and you out there and you ain't never touched them? You ain't never been. So, yes, that is possible. But the question becomes, why? Why not make the commitment of having, if that person is so close to you that you got to live with them, that you have to be there, and you need that person in your life, that person completes you, that person can't complete you until you do it spiritually. Totally. They can complete you to a certain extent. But that no, because some people saying no to marriage. Why are they saying no to marriage? That's a no that I don't understand. Why? Because, well, I've been married before. Well, I done had this relationship before. My mom and dad were married and they got divorced and they had a very, okay, those are no's, but does that mean that need to be a no for you when you found the person that completes you? Those are no's inside of relationships that need to be met up front, because you found that person that treats you like a queen. That's amazing. That's doing everything for you. They ain't paying your bills and stuff, but he completes you. He's that person you want to talk to every night. He's that person that makes you, that you come home, you hoping that he's there. You don't mind cooking dinner, stuff like that. You're looking for that. But then he's sitting there saying, yeah, let's wait on this. Why? Because there's a no there that has not been talked about. And the same thing with the woman. She's been in an abusive relationship and she don't want to talk about it because it brings up issues. That's a no. That's a spiritual and a physical issue that they need to get resolved before they walk into a relationship with Mr. Right or somebody they think that's Mr. Right. Because if they're going in damaged from that sense and don't want to get undamaged, and I'm going to go here, let God get there and work on that thing and get them to come to relations and get to a peace within themselves, then they're going out there damaging somebody that wasn't damaged, that was ready to commit to a relationship. And now you're in this relationship, and every time he wants to think about proposing to you, you go south on him. You start acting crazy because, oh God, he gonna propose to me. He wants to make this deeper, and I don't want to do this. Oh God, no, I can't do this. Why? Because you're spiritually damaged, and you need to get past your no. And so those are and to me, no is powerful. No can keep you from your best. Your no's can keep you from having a perfect life. Well, not a perfect. Ain't no life perfect, because we here on this earth and we full of sin. But you can have a life that is complete or that is great with the person that can complete you. Like this one do me. Even though we go through our battles, she completes me. That's why I'm still here. My no is I ain't leaving her. No, I ain't going nowhere. And those are the challenges that we have, is getting past the no's and understanding what our no's truly are and why they're there. I know that was kind of long-winded, but hopefully that helped somebody.
And it's come back around to the fact that when you say no, the first person that you need to know, who needs to understand your no, is yourself. Then once you work through your no's, then you know where your boundaries are, so that when you go into a relationship, they're set and there is no question. And then you can also, at that point, you're able to tell the other person when certain situations come up. You say no. And if you base your no's, make your foundation God, and you look and you follow the relationship advice that is given in the Bible, then that just helps you that much more when you are seeking. Because the whole thing is like I said, I was making the statement, and he was saying, yeah, but I know some guys that are, we know that there's some guys out there too who are just like that, who are who we are looking for. But at that point, where do you find them? Because a lot of times you don't find them in the bars. You don't find them in the clubs. And sometimes they might actually be there because, like he said, but he's with other guys, and his mindset and his purpose and everything else is a little skewed at that point. And so he may not necessarily be looking for you there, even though you might be there. So our biggest thing is where do you find them?
Hmm.
It's always been, where do you find them? I know you're out. I know I'm out here. Well, when I was, I know I'm out here. I know me. It's like, so where do I find you? My other part. And that's I think that's our biggest challenge at that point is where do we find them? Where do we meet you? So that somebody who's on my same mindset, where do I meet you?
Hmm.
And it's interesting because you might meet them in the grocery store. You might meet them in Target. You might meet them at church.
And I like you say they might, and that's the challenge. Everybody go to church, you can find a good man,
No,
find a good woman.
it's a might because you don't.
No.
Yeah,
you
because
don't-
we
you
all
don't know.
we all sin, we all broken in the church. We trying to get well too. So
Right. You know, a lot of people, I think they say they meet them through other friends.
Mhm.
You know, so it's a challenge, but it all comes down to we first have to set those boundaries
in ourselves.
in ourselves.
And that's the challenge. It's not about how, and there was a whole thing, how to take your no to a yes. And it's not to know how to take a no to the yes. It goes back to you. How to make your no, how to challenge your no to be true to yourself. To thy own self be true. Because then you know where your boundaries, your no's are no's and your yeses are yes. And you understand how deep is your no or how shallow is your no. Or and so it goes back to communications. Just like Brother Jabril said, communications. How to communicate your no that is not totally negative. Or how to communicate your no so that you can set foundational structure and framework that can build a relationship that set doors, boundaries, rooftops, kitchen, living room, and how to make something lasting. Are you building a house or are you building a hotel room? Are you making something so you can go in and out and anybody can come in and out? Are you building something that you want to build family, relationship, memories, and those things. So it all's about that no, because that no is going to determine what happens.
It's the truth. Look, unless you're at a revival, you're not gonna find them at church. Here's the reality is when some new man enters church, there's a 30 feisty, thirsty women that want that one new guy that showed up. So really, for real, just go live your life. And no, he's not gonna find you at your house. What is he gonna do? Break in? Like, what are we gonna do? Okay. I mean, me personally, unless he's Ubering or whatever, dropping off groceries or stuff, I'm not gonna meet him in the grocery store. We're just gonna keep it real.
We really don't know when or where we're going to meet him because I did meet him at church. So there is a possibility.
He was
but
visiting.
No, he wasn't.
Actually, I was trying to find a church home.
You were, but I'm saying you were
No, I was
busy.
busy.
I'm saying
Yeah.
it worked out because he actually went there chasing one woman and ended up getting the one that he was supposed to. That was by happenstance.
No, I wasn't chasing another woman because the woman that I was talking to that actually go to that church was just what was she? She was a what do you call it? A person that keeps the attendant. She worked at the inn at the on base. She was and God just asked me, what church do you go to? And I asked that question and she was like, here's a church you can go to for Sunday because it was a Saturday night and I was in there paying my bill. And then so she was like, here's a church you can go to. And as I was walking out the door, Spirit was like, no, that's not the church that you want. ask her what church that she goes to. So I walked back in and said, what church do you go to? Because she wasn't my type. She was definitely not my type. But, I said, what church do you go to? And she said, how you know that's not my church? I said, I don't know. Spirit just told me to ask you what church. She said, well, I was giving you a church that you can find just right off base. But my church is all the way down in Havre de Grace. I don't think you can find it. I said, don't worry about me finding it. Just tell me what church that is. So I had a calling that sent me there. It wasn't about her, but it was about that spirit in me saying, that's not the church you're supposed to go to. You're supposed to go to this church. And so, and I ended up going to that church, and the rest is history.
Right. But see, even when you went, you were going to find a church home. You weren't even going to find a woman. It just so happened.
No, I was going to find her. Yeah, I wasn't going to find a woman. I wasn't going to find a church home. Just long, brown legs with the devil heels that could look like that.
But what you'll never know is how many women were like looking and say, "Oh, that's a new brother in church," and
it was
they were
plenty
waiting for a husband.
After I stayed there a couple of weeks, oh baby, you need to meet my daughter. And it's like, oh, you single? You ain't dating? No, ma'am, I ain't dating nobody. Well, I got a nice young lady I want you to meet. So, yeah, it was going on, but at the same time, I wasn't dating her at that point. We were just she was being my realtor, and we were getting a relationship. Her mom had adopted me because I was new in town and invited me over dinner. Food always gets a man's stomach. No, but anyway.
Your mom had plans. She did.
No, she didn't.
No,
she didn't. She was just inviting me
She
over.
probably knew that you might would have been good for her daughter. You never know.
I don't know.
Just like they invite him over for dinner.
Yeah. So, but
It's not how it's done now, but I love that.
Mhm.
Love that story. But I do agree too that today's new age, especially the Gen Z generation, they don't take relationships seriously, let alone marriages. And it is they could be with 3 or 4 people. They think that's cool that they have slept with 3 or 4 people in a few months. It's crazy, but it's just that they're where you have my generation kind of coming out like, oh, you don't have to marry them. You can date them. You can be with them. Y'all can live together. And now you have this generation that's like, it's another day a week. Somebody next month, different. It's fine. It's cool. We ain't gotta get married. We ain't even got a date now.
So it's a challenge between what's spiritual and what's physical. So we're moving away from the spiritual and looking for the spiritual and physical relationship to moving to the physical relationship. Then we get spiritual as the relationship goes on. We first want the physical pleasure instead of the spiritual, connection. And most times, I dated a person for 3 or 4 months, and I'm getting that vibe that we should be, I'm getting that vibe that we should be better. We better together, we better together, and so I just want to take this a little bit further. But now it's like, oh baby, you look good, and I'm getting warm downstairs, and I just need this to go. And it ain't about that. It ain't nothing spiritual about that. It's all about a physical connection. And we as spiritual, we can always feel this, birds of a feather flock together. And so, if you have the same kind of spirit, if that spirit connects with another one in the bar or wherever, you done already got inebriated and stuff, and you're like, let us fly. And stuff like that, and next thing you know, you're somewhere else. And that's the challenge that we have, is because everybody's looking on TV, seeing all these spontaneous relationships and seeing these things that happen over a couple of days and a couple of weeks, and not looking at what happens over a couple of years. Where does that take me? After a couple of kids, where did that take me? But I'm still looking for that feeling, that right now feeling, instead of that long-term commitment.
Got it. Closing statement for you, Miss Deborah.
No, I think I've said it all.
And I think I said it.
Leave it all on the table.
So I think I said enough, but you know, your nose, let your nose be nose. Let your yes be yes. And if there's issues with your nose, make sure your nose are true to you.
I go with that.
We just say what an incredible discussion today. Saying no isn't about rejection. It's about making space for the right yes. You deserve a relationship that is built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. And it all starts with you drawing the line and standing on that firmly on what you will and will